He just doesn't budge. I can never keep up with going to bed early. Resistance comes up for all of us. Is resistance helping us move forward or keeping us stuck? What do we do when we are feeling resistant towards someone or something? Hi, this is Prachi. Let's talk about this. What is resistance? In psychology, the concept of resistance refers to the emotional anxiety that is caused by the prospect of some sort of change or transformation. Change is the only constant. We understand that, but we want to remain the same or do the same things, but we also want to change. This dichotomy is what generates resistance. It is often unconscious. We, in fact, can be motivated to change. We know we want that change or we want to be different in that way, but we are often afraid to do so. It is unwillingness, maybe consciously or mostly unconsciously, to grow. This resistance that comes up is actually shedding light on the internal conflicts that we have. So, the more unaware we are, the higher resistance we are likely to face. Because what is coming up is mostly painful or distressing, or it is evoking fear, or it is uncertainty that is coming up. We don't want to face that, and so we resist it. It is very human to feel resistance. So, let's understand it so we can deal with it. Why does it occur? We minimize whatever is coming up, pretend otherwise, avoid it altogether. We intellectualize it. Or we just try to stay in whatever is known, whatever we perceive as safe, or be rigidly committed to something that is known and predictable. This is us acting out of resistance. And the underlying factor is fear. The intensity of that resistance depends on the context in which we are feeling it and the context of us, your individual context, my individual context, because we are afraid of the unknown. We may have some sort of a likely scenario, but we don't know 100%. It is the uncharted territory which causes resistance because there is that fear of that unknown. Maybe we want to cling to what is familiar. We associate familiarity with safety. So when we are in a familiar situation, we think that we are in control and that situation is predictable. But any sort of change or growth or transformation demands us to get out of that familiar environment, challenge ourselves. Any sort of growth causes some sort of disruption of identity. We feel lost in it because what we were before this change occurring, while we are in it, and how we will be after, will by default impact us and influence us, and that will shape us in some way or the other. And so we resist that change. We are creature of habits. We are always going for some sort of a structure, routine, things that are predictable. We are just used to being a certain way, and it's very hard to get out of there. Our past, we may have negative experiences or experiences that caused us some sort of difficulty or harm or pain, and that negative associations that we have with certain situations, we end up projecting that same outcome onto our future. We think whatever we experienced in the past is exactly what will happen in the future. So we completely resist anything that may even remotely take us towards that direction. So does it mean that we have to fight the resistance always? Or sometimes that resistance is actually helping us? Resistance can be helpful. If you are working in a company that has a very toxic work culture, dealing with your co-worker, or it's a boss that is really shitty, or you don't get the amount of money that you need, so you desperately wait for the weekend because you don't want to deal with anyone from work. You feel this heaviness and sense of dread towards going to work and dealing with that, or even if you see a call coming in, you feel awful and it's just really difficult. Or even in a situation where you are in a relationship that is unhealthy or even abusive, where you don't want to talk to that person, maybe you avoid meeting that person, you withdraw from the relationship in many aspects, maybe emotionally, physically, or otherwise. And this doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, it could be your family relationship or a friendship, but you see yourself withdrawing because engaging with this person is what you're resisting. What is this resistance doing is actually it is indicating to us that we are in an unhealthy situation that is actually taking a toll on us, not just our mental but also maybe our physical well-being, and we need to pivot. We need to get out of here, because being here doesn't work for us, and being here is what we are resisting completely. Unhelpful resistance. For example, in a relationship that is actually good and healthy, but we feel resistance because of the confrontational nature of it. It doesn't have to always be romantic, it could be any relationship that is genuinely close and intimate. Because relationships that are that intimate and close end up often showing us a mirror. Everyone has blind spots. So these blind spots are revealed to us, and that is confronting. And we resist knowing that or facing that because it could be very challenging. We want to start or stop doing something. We want to start working out regularly, or we want to start eating healthy, but we rather just sit and watch the movie instead of going to the gym, or we would rather just order something instead of making something, or we want to quit maybe drinking, or maybe we want to reduce our screen time. We know we want to, we can be motivated to do so, but we don't because that resistance is very much there. Even therapy can be confrontational. A client may face resistance, and that's very common actually, because maybe it's very uncomfortable, or it is again revealing something about themselves or someone else or the situation that they are in. They avoid coming to the session, or maybe they avoid talking about that particular thing. All of that is resistance. Here the resistance is actually indicating the discomfort of confrontation, which actually is needed for us to grow or change or make any sort of transformation happen. It is shedding light on what needs to change. What is it that we need to maybe improve, or that is something that we need to address, which is actually for our own good, that will actually help us. But it is uncomfortable and maybe even painful at times, and so we resist it. As I said before, we equate familiarity with safety, so we resist anything that sort of shakes that. In these cases, we need to endure that resistance and let it lead us to growth. Discernment. So, yes, there is resistance that comes up in pretty much everything, but sometimes it is helpful and sometimes it is not. What is this resistance serving? What is it that it is protecting me from? When we ask these questions and are actually honestly answering them, we can understand which direction do we need to go in order for us to be in a position where we feel better. Change is always an opportunity to discover oneself. Informed actions. So, when we are being discerning, we are actually self reflecting and introspecting. Resistance is going to come up no matter what, but we need to understand the long term impact of what we choose to do here, and also then tolerate the short term discomfort of that resistance. There is that fear that is lingering underneath, that we not only need to understand but face it. Dealing with this resistance has to be a gradual process, and we need to give ourselves that time and patience and also compassion to deal with it. This is how we are making a certain decision that is as per our authentic self. That's it for today. Let me know what is your experience with the resistance and how you're dealing with it. And I hope this video was helpful. I'll see you in the next one.